Creativity, which is a workshop that's running at the Creativity and Cognition Conference 2022. In these videos, we're going to be going through a range of fairly simple, accessible AI tools that might be used in some way to enhance creative practice. These videos primarily are aimed at creatives who maybe aren't from a technical background or who haven't worked with code or AI before, but might be interested in seeing how AI could be integrated into their practice in some way. So we're going to be introducing a few tools that are simple, they're free, they're code-free, and they might be used as part of a creative practice. The tool that we're going to be looking at in this video is called GPT-J. GPT-J is a text generation tool that uses AI. It's completely free, it's accessible online, you only need a browser to access it. You can use it by providing a text prompt, so giving it a sentence or a phrase, and then getting the model to generate text based on that prompt. It's pre-trained, so it's already been trained on a wide range of text. You can't train it yourself, so you can't provide it with your own text or your own model for training it, but it can provide quite broad outcomes with what it's already been trained on. So this could be used in various ways. As part of a creative practice, you could use it to create narratives, to create dialogues. You can imagine conversations with it. You can ask it questions. You could also use it to create instructions for you to follow in a creative context. There's all kinds of stuff that you could potentially do with this, even though it's quite a simple tool. So access the tool by going to 6b.eluther.ai, and you're presented with a really simple interface. The main thing is that there's a box in the middle there where you can add your text prompts. So give it a phrase, give it a sentence, ask a question, and when you're done, you hit run the model, and it will then generate some text which will appear underneath. And what it's looking to do is just follow on from the text that you've already given it. There are some settings you can play with, so you can play with these to create results maybe that are more random or that conform more to the text it's already been trained on. So you can play around with those, but to begin with, you can just keep them as they are. So if we start perhaps by asking it a question, so we could say, what is creativity? And then hit run the model. It may take a few seconds to run the model and to generate your text, but when it's ready, it should appear underneath here. So what is creativity? Creativity is the ability to produce something new and useful, or to solve problems in a new and useful way. Okay, well, so far that's fairly accurate. So it might produce results which you agree with or that seem good or convincing. It might produce things which are random or confusing. Either way, it might produce something which is useful to you within your creative practice, that stimulates you or provokes you in a certain direction. So that's trying it with a question. Another way to use it is perhaps to get it to imagine more creative scenarios or to help you generate creative narratives. So if we were to give it the kind of the beginning or a prompt which was the beginning of some creative prose perhaps, so something like this. It was a dark and stormy night. As the lightning flashed outside, suddenly there was a loud banging at the door. Everyone in the room looked around as the door slowly opened to reveal. Okay, it's not the best prose in the world, but it hopefully gives you an idea. So if we run that, it should then try and kind of continue our story for us. Okay, the door slowly opened to reveal the haggard-looking face of their host. Please don't disturb me, I'm trying to read, he said with a weak smile. Okay, so that might stimulate you, might give you some ideas for directions that you could take a creative narrative. If it doesn't work for you, you can always just hit run the model again. It will give you some other results, and it will be different each time. So in this version, it's an old man with a white beard whose name is McGillis. Okay, so it can give you quite specific details. It can give you names of characters. It can give you context, settings, which might be stuff that you can weave into your own work. So that's kind of a use of it as a creative writing tool, perhaps, or something along those lines. As I say, another way of using this in a creative context could be to get it to give you prompts or to give you instructions for what to do with your own work. So if we were to copy in some text along those lines. Okay, so here's a prompt which should give us some creative instructions for what to do in a certain creative context. So the prompt says, here are 5 things you need to make a really unique and creative piece of art. 1, a large piece of paper. 2, and then we'll leave it there. And obviously if you give it some kind of formatting like this, like you're asking it to create a list for you, it should continue that, and it should give you the rest of the list. So if we run that model, the results it gives us is we need a large piece of paper, a piece of good quality paint, a lot of time, an empty room, a big piece of imagination. Okay, well those are all fairly abstract. If we run it again, it might give us different instructions, it might give us different items that we need, and then you can think about whether you want to use those as part of your own work. Okay, so here it's given us a pencil, a magnifying glass, a felt tip pen, a place to display your art. So you can think of this as a way of kind of collecting inspiration for objects that you might use, giving you restrictions within your work that you can then work with, or giving you prompts that you can then use as a sort of the starting point for your work. So you could change this. So maybe you don't want to start with a large piece of paper. Maybe you want to start with a pineapple. See if that gives it any kind of different inspiration for the prompts it's going to give you. Okay, so you're going to need a pineapple, a shovel, a hammer, some straw, and a bamboo stick. What would you do with those? Maybe you could get it to say, piece of string. Obviously you can tailor this for things that you actually have, things that you want to work with. Maybe it can provide you with some other things. So a piece of string, a box, a pencil, a plastic bag, a free afternoon. We'll then give you some steps. Go to the store to buy a piece of string, go home, tie a knot in the end of the string, go back to the store, buy a box. Okay, it's telling you things to do that maybe are instructions you want to follow. We could kind of give it a prompt that might prompt us with more specific instructions. Maybe this is a good way of getting a list, but it's not so good at actually doing the instructions itself. So if we copy in something which gives us a better kind of idea of what we should be doing, then we might get some more interesting results. So here's a prompt which is more about trying to get it to give us some instructions. Here are 6 steps for creating an amazing and original piece of art using a piece of string, a pineapple, a large piece of paper, a crayon, and a pair of scissors. 1, take the paper and we'll see what else it comes up with. Obviously giving it a prompt where it's trying to give you a list, or even telling it how many steps to give you, and you should get a result that kind of corresponds with that. So here are the 6 steps. Take the paper, fold it in half, then fold the top half in again and crease it. This will create a box-like shape. Next, cut the paper in half again and create 2 rectangles. Okay, then making a triangle. Okay, this is all quite paper-based, and it's given us the first 4 steps. What you can also do is to send the result as a prompt. In other words, it will use everything that we've got here as the prompt for the next generation, and therefore it should continue the whole thing. So if we click on that, it might take a few seconds longer, but we should get a result that carries on. Okay, and indeed we've got 5, 6, and 7 as well. So take the paper, wrap it around your pineapple, start writing something on the paper, make sure the pineapple is facing the same direction that you started. Okay, there's all kinds of results there that you might want to work with. So obviously you can tailor these prompts to suit your own practice, to suit your own situation, and just use this as a, if nothing else, as a sort of way of randomly generating prompts that might be useful to you in your work. So this is the first tool, GPT-J. Hopefully it gives you some ideas about how you could use it. Check out the other videos to find other tools, other AI tools that might be useful within your creative practice.